Hey, it's Jay Chatfield, Loving Yourself to Life. This is brought to you by Grace Guidance Production, where we produce media, literature, and events that will inspire you to live and love your life on purpose and motivate you to heal too. No, I can't forget that healing is first. And, I'm talking about this today. So if you haven't heard my podcast, I was under the weather. And I was under the weather because I absorbed someone else's grief. Someone that I know, their husband was tragically killed. And from afar, I observed, but I observed to a point where it was, somebody's texting me. Like, nobody ever texted me like this. So I absorbed it to the point where I didn't release it. So grief is um something we've been taught. Grief is something we've been taught. We have not been shown properly how to to deal with when a person leaves the body, but that's not the only type of grief. There's grief all the time in relationship, especially when dynamics die. So I was told this week that, do you know how many times that you've grieved inside of your marriage for 21 years? Many times. Do you know that you grieve with your children as they get older? Do you know that, especially when you have a divorce, you grieve, you know? But grieving is a low emotion. It puts you in the space of opening you up to those to any entity that can feed off of you, anything that can just continue to suck the life out of you. If you don't know how to release it, you you have to find a way to have that as an out. You have to get that out of your system, right? When my brother was killed in 1994, and people can tell you the day where they were. I can tell you everything, because that's when I really started noticing I had some type of other abilities, because I was lying in the bed. It had to be about 12 a.m. and he was in another city, and I heard the gunshot. I heard the gunshot and it woke me up, you know? And I was like, what is that? You know, I I didn't know, who it was at the time. But then when I look back, all the signs were there that we weren't going to see him alive again. And I think he knew too. He just didn't know where it was going to come from. He didn't know it was going to come from his cousin, which they had spent time together when they were younger. So that's grieving two lives right there. One gone, one's going to be in jail for a very long time. And when my aunt got the phone call, I immediately started crying, because your phone don't ring at 3 o'clock in the morning for nothing. you know, I immediately started crying because I knew he was gone. And they had told her that he hadn't passed yet, but he was gone. And then now, coming back to this, me now, to where I can communicate, um, I do hear his voice. I do hear him on, over there. Even though he's moved into another space, his energy is still there. And whenever I speak to my aunt, he is very much present. So it's one of those things where I have been learning little by little that, of course, no one goes anywhere, especially when they leave the body. But because we haven't been taught that from a young age, we grieve so hard when someone goes. And we don't understand why some of them leave, because that's what they wanted to do. That's what they had. I think I've explained a few times to where A son passed away. The mom doesn't have answers, but he went to help her fight cancer on the other side. Lady had twins, her baby, and this was all things that I saw. A lady had twins, and both of the twins weren't going to make it, and she was going to not make it. But because of the twins not making it, so one of the twins went in, gave his, I don't want to say life source, but maybe. The way I see it, he added energy to the baby. The baby lived, and the mom was able to be cured from cancer and live for her baby and her daughter. So, it was very shocking to me when I first started having these revelations. But because, like I said, nobody ever told us, that this is what's happening. And this is one of the reasons why, and on my podcast, if you listen to it, I just don't care to go to funerals, because people don't know how to release their emotions. And I'm learning how to not be emotionally absorbent, because my connection with trauma is so strong. And I say that because, like I say, I am a healer in that space. And when people have trauma, it's speaking, it's talking. And when someone leaves tragically, that's a trauma. When you see someone laying in that casket, that's a trauma. That is a straight up trauma. And that's why people start to cry. That's why you get another level of grief out of people when they walk down and they see the body. I'm not interested in that. I'm going to love you from here. I don't need to see you laying there in that space. I refuse. I already told my kids, y'all better burn me up. Yep. And they're like, Mama, why you so? I said, listen. Release my spirit off of this plane, please. So now in a marriage, this is a hard grief. I think it's harder sometimes than when someone physically leaves, because if you choose to stay in a marriage like me, right? I've grieved how we were, right? And we've grown to this area, and we've been through so much hurt and pain on both sides. I had to grieve that. So, but when you grieve it, you're expecting for it to go away, right? But it's that person is still there. It's like you really want it back, but that's not gonna, because you're not gonna get that back because of where you are in this today or this now space. So sometimes you develop other emotions, resentment, or sometimes people hate because they can't get back to that part of the marriage, or that space and time of the marriage when this and this and this was happening, because you've broken that connection and that emotion, or that time of growth, because that happened because you needed to move here, right? So releasing that, you have to release that, because one thing about marriage, I'll tell people, you're going to die so many times. You're going to die. That person is going to die. Your relationship is going to die. So many times in a within a marriage, because with every new season of growth, that person becomes another person. There are some things that are going to stay the same, but mostly not. I am not my 22-year-old self when I got married. Not. Neither is my husband. So different times of the marriage, there were things that I had to grieve and he had to grieve. But like I say, grieving is so low level, it attracts other things. That's why people get depressed, anxiety. Some people just get sick, So you have to know how to release it and be okay with it, and get yourself to the point where it no longer affects you emotionally. Look at when something traumatic happens in the perspective of it as growth. I always say, we haven't been taught this. It's growth. It's something to push you to where you need to go, because again, this is your story. And I know a lot of people say, well, why is it their son? Why is it their daughter? Why is it their husband? Why is it their whole family? Because this was your time to evolve, and all of those people were around you to push you to your true purpose. Put you in position so that you may have done this for them in another lifetime. It sounds very sad, right? It sounds like I'm almost, this little tear, my little tear duct is getting a little full, because not because I'm sad, because these beings everybody wants everybody to make it. It's the love. You don't feel it on this side because it feels like we've been cut off from it and we haven't been taught about it. But these people love you enough to shock you into your highest and best self. And we have to learn how to educate ourselves, meditation, and communing with our higher self, to understand that we have to be moved. We have to go. And then some of the most amazing things comes out of when things happen to people, especially in their everyday relationship. These people who have been cheated on, that's a grief. Had children on them while they were married, lost their eyesight. Those things, something amazing happened to where it's a help to other people. But it's the perspective, it's the knowledge of grief. And if you're in that space now, when you hold that grief in your life, like I said, it's going to reach for other emotions that's going to take you down. So it's better, excuse me, if you funnel your energy into something that's going to satisfy and lift you up. Take care of your vibration in that moment. Like, I don't like when people say my condolences, and I don't either. I say sending healing vibes in this time of transition for you, because one, you're going to heal. Two, you're going to have to transition into that next phase. I can't tell you to be sad if that's what you need to be for a little bit, because I know I would be. But knowing what I know now, okay, all right, this is what I have to do. I got to find a way to make this an outlet, So I could talk about this a lot. If you need to talk more, go ahead and email me at graceguidance@gmail.com. We could do some coaching or some, talking about what it is that you're dealing with on that level of trauma. I am getting over this invitation and that I have invited into my immune system, because I did it. I should, but I plan on, doing a fast and getting this thing, because I'm tired of it. This rattling, sounding like a grown man with 4 beards. I'm tired of that. So, as always, this is Jay Chatfield, Loving Yourself to Life. As always, do something for you that only you will love. Have a Love Yourself day.